Hi, this is another C# tutorial, and today we are going to do another console application, which we will always be doing here. But this time around, we're going to deal with some variables and do some stuff that's a little more complicated. So, what we are going to do is we are going to deal with the switch and if statements that we did before, but we're going to be making an application that does math. So, name the console application whatever you want. Your project will be created. So, again, when you create a new project, we have all these things. We have using statements, we have our namespace, we have our class, program, but we want to worry about this. So we've stated all of our things about the method here, and behind this squiggly here, we're going to enter. So, behind this bracket, we're going to do enter. And let's initialize some variables. We're going to make an integer called number or first number. Then we're going to make another variable called second number. So basically what this program will let you do is it will let you pick two numbers to do an operation with. Then we are going to do a switch statement, and before we do the switch statement, we're going to do console dot write line, enter pick an operation. So, now we are going to do a switch statement around console.readline. So it's going to compare the result, so it's going to compare what the user wrote to different scenarios. So we're going to do a case. We're going to do case, let's do add. Then case, what's the other one? Subtract. And then we're going to add another scenario where they enter multiply. And then another scenario where the person types in divide. So, we now have 4 different scenarios. A switch statement can have as many scenarios as you want. So if the person has add, what we want to do is we want to we essentially want to put them into sub things. So we're going to do console dot actually I'm also going to introduce a new thing here. They're called methods. This is a method, but it's the main method and it's always used. So what is a method? Well, we know that console.readline here, it returns what the user entered. But you notice how I have console.writeLine, console.readline? WriteLine is a method that writes whatever you tell it to write. Console.readLine, however, is a method that grabs what the user entered and returns something. If that's a little confusing, don't worry. It's quite normal. And we'll touch up on the many different ways methods can be used. There's different types of methods, and it does seem a bit daunting at first. But console.writeLine here, you tell it what you want it to write, and it's a method that will say, okay, well, I'm going to write whatever this user said to the console. Console.readLine says, okay, I'm going to get whatever the user said, and I'm going to tell you what it was. So our switch statement here is basically saying, okay, we're going to get whatever the user said, and if they said add, we're going to do some stuff here. If they said subtract, we're going to do some stuff here. If they said multiply, we're going to do some stuff here, etc., etc. So we are going to make a new method called, let's see here. We're going to call it, we're going to type in private void, and we are, let's call this do math, and we are going to do int. And what a void means is methods can either return something or they can return nothing. Console.readLine is a string. It's a method that returns you a string, and that string is whatever the user typed in. Console.writeLine is a void, and it doesn't return you anything. All it does is say, okay, give me an argument, and I will use it. So, private void do math. We want you to be able to enter a number. Why do we want to deal with numbers? This is why. If we deal with numbers, we can act upon 4 different numbers. We could say add. Let's do so what we do here is we'd go, okay, do math and we are going to pass it 1. So let's do something here. So because this is a console application, you type in private static void. If you're dealing with the WinForms application, doing static methods isn't necessary. However, because this is a console application, you always type in private static void. Unless, of course, you want to have a method that returns a specific data type. We'll get into that later. And right now, all we're going to worry about is we've made a method called doMath, and you have to give it a number. What this is saying here is, okay, I accept an integer, and it's a number. No, an integer. And when a person passes in that integer, we have a variable here initialized called number. And number is going to be equal to whatever the person gave. So up here we said do math 1. What this means is we are telling the method do math to do some work, but we also give it a number so it knows what type of work to do. However, it's not going to do anything with our value here. So let's do an if statement. If int, if number is equal to 1, if number is equal to 2 if number is equal to 3 and if number is equal to 4. So as you know, these are conditionals, and they will only ever execute code inside of them if their condition is met or proven to be true. So if the number is equal to 1, we are going to... Actually, we have an issue here. Okay, so far we have 4 different if statements, right? Each has a different condition to be met. However, though we pass 2 numbers, we have to add a few more variables out to be entered. So we'll have this accept 3 arguments: the operation, the first number, and the second number. So as you can see, we have some complaints here. So when I do these on the fly, just so you know that as a programmer you will make mistakes. There's no such thing as a perfect program. There's only such thing as a better program and a less better program. So we are going to give it we're also going to deal with another thing called int.parse. So int.parse console.readline. And then int.parse console.readline. So there we go. And these 2 variables we created here are pretty useless at the moment, and they do nothing for us. However, I'm not going to get rid of them just yet, because we may end up using them if something that ends up not working. So we are now going to do different things. So we're going to decide that, okay, addition, that number is going to be 1. Subtracting is 2. Multiplying is 3. And we're going to decide that dividing is 4. So we're going to do console dot We're going to do console dot WriteLine first number plus second number. Here we're going to do console dot WriteLine and to speed this up, we'll just do some copy and pasting. So there, there, and there. Now remember, change these to the appropriate operation. So we have these things here. So if our operation is 1, console.WriteLine first number plus second number. What does that mean? So what this means is we are going to write, this doesn't mean we're going to write the first number and the second number beside each other. What this means is we are going to add them. They're integers. So we're going to add them together. So if first number was equal to 5 and second number was equal to 2, this would write the number 7. If you were to put, if the first number were 5 and we were minus 2, the answer would be 3. If this were 4, if first number was equal to 4 and it was divided by 2, it would be 2. And if it were 5, if first number were 5 times 2, you'd see 10. So we are going to run our application and see if it works. So pick an operation. Add. So 7 and 8. It gave me my answer and it closed. So what do we want to do? We want to put a read line. There we go. One hotkey you should be common with if you're using Visual Studio Professional or C# Express 2010 is Control-Shift-B. This will build your application. Normally you want to do this because it normally fixes things. Sometimes the IDE isn't correct with what's right or wrong. Maybe you've corrected a mistake and it still says a mistake is there. You press Control-Shift-B to check again and it will correct itself. So we put console.readline. So pick an operation. Let's multiply. So multiplication, we are going to do 7 and 8. And we got 0. And why did we get 0? Why is it that we got 0? How does that make any sense, right? We actually messed up. Case multiply, do math 3. Okay, so that means that the operation is 3 when the person types in multiply. If the operation is 3, we're going to execute this code. However, we have first number divided by the second number. That means we put this in the wrong spot. So we are going to divide. So we'll swap those around. We'll run the application again. We'll do our multiply. 7 times 8 is 56. And there we go. Now, if you're completely and utterly confused, here's what happens. Our application launches, and we tell it that we want to write this string here, which says pick an operation. So, the next thing that happens is we have the switch statement encased around console.readline. So, switch console.readline. When you do something like this, the switch statement will wait for this to return an answer. Once console.readline has returned an answer, the switch statement will start and it will check it against all of these odds. So, once one of these odds is completed, let's say I typed in add, or subtract, or multiply, or divide, we call our new method doMath. doMath accepts 3 arguments, which we set down here. We want a number so we know our operation. we want a number, so we want our first number, and we want our second number. So we say do math, and 1, we know that 1 will do addition. And then we do int.parse. Int.parse console.readline. Whoops. What this does is console.readline is a string. Even if you type in the number 1 in console.readline says that the user typed in 1, it returns it as a character, not a number. So what int.parse does is it checks console.readline for a number. If there's a number, it will take it and make it into an actual integer. It will turn it from a string to an integer. Same happens here. So up here, I said that console.readline, that the switch statement won't start until console.readline returns an answer. Same goes here. Int.parse is going to wait until console.readline returns an answer. Once it returns an answer, it will turn the string into a number, if it can. And then this will be equal, and then first number will be equal to whatever the user typed in. And then the same thing happens here. This int.parse will wait for console.readline to return an answer. Once it's returned an answer, it will convert that string into an integer, and then second number will be equal to whatever the user entered. You can't set a string value. You can't make an integer equal to a string. You can't. It's like mixing apples and oranges. So in order to mix your apples and oranges together, you have to turn the apples into oranges. Int.parse turns a string value into its numerical equivalent, if there is any. So, beyond that, we have different if statements. If the operation is equal to 1, we'll execute this block of code. If it's equal to 2, we'll do this block of code. If it's equal to 3, we'll do this block of code. And if it's equal to 4, we'll do this block of code. So that's basically what the program does, right? So we now have a program that will do math. You can add, subtract, multiply, and divide up to 2 numbers, because that's how we programmed it to be. What happens if you want to do multiple numbers? Like, what if you want to do 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 divided by 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5? It is possible to do stuff like that. However, that's an advanced topic and won't be taught quite yet. So yeah, that's just about everything, and I'll see you guys next time.